Next month, the Charles Koch Institute will hold a summit with the Anti-Defamation League and executives from major tech companies, including Pinterest, Airbnb, Patreon, Mozilla. The stated purpose of the meeting is to formulate, quote, best practices on the fight against hate and extremism online, end quote. But you know exactly what that really means. It means censorship of your views. For the left, fighting extremism always entails crushing normal conservatives. That's why Pinterest has censored live action. It's why Patreon banned Milo Yiannopoulos. It's why Mozilla drove out Brendan Eich for the crime of donating to the wrong political campaign. Big tech has become a far greater threat to your freedom than the federal government. The Kochs don't care about that. Nothing Google does violates libertarian orthodoxy. More to the point, the Kochs don't care about Republican voters or what happens to them. Okay, that's fine. No law requiring them to care. But then why are they running the Republican Party? That's a question Republicans should start asking themselves.
Let's go back to drudgereport.com for TV viewers. For radio listeners, I'm going to read these links out. Now, when I smell blood, I smell blood. Easier way to say it is like the Colonel in Apocalypse Now. He goes, I love the smell of napalm. Napalm in the morning. Smells like victory. I smell victory. I smell big victory. Big time. You have the head of Google censorship saying we're going to stop Trump being reelected and saying we don't care what Congress does, we're going to keep doing it. That's the zealot criminal focus and conviction of these people to engage in mutiny against this republic and not let nationalist conservatives and Christians communicate. In fact, I didn't even get to it yesterday. Well, you guys bring me yesterday's stack. Without even looking for it, it was all over the news. Mainline Christian sites being censored by Google, Apple, Twitter, YouTube, all of it. This is the takeover. The internet is telecommunications. It is the modern communication systems. It's already replaced landlines. And they're coming in saying on the WhatsApp owned by Facebook and other systems, we're going to control what you can say live over an app talking to one person. They now have AI systems that are censoring person to person. What do you think Facebook was saying 2 months ago when they said you will no longer say Alex Jones's name or Infowars.com unless it's negative? If it's negative, you're allowed to. My God, again, that is beyond a Jim Jones cult. That is beyond the worst stuff we heard about the Branch Davidians. That is beyond what goes on in the old Soviet Union. That is crazy. Oh, but the Koch brothers. In fact, I never played that last week. Can we cue up Tucker Carlson goes after the Koch brothers? Because if I had $1 for every time I got an email or somebody told me that I worked for the Koch brothers, I'd have $1 million. The Koch brothers were the Clintons' biggest financiers. The Koch brothers were deeply in bed with the Democrats. They wanted monopolies. The Koch brothers want open borders where you subsidize their workers, their illegal alien workers. They're total fake libertarians, not good little L, but big L. They're corporate raiders. They make their money off corporate money that they get through crony capitalism and government contracts and subsidies paid to illegal aliens. And the Koch brothers finance all the big think tanks and work with the neocons to try to defeat Trump. They gave their money to Hillary. But I always have leftists toddle up to me and say, oh, you work for the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers. The Koch brothers are neocons. The Koch brothers, let me explain this. They're just like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett always says, I mail a check every year for a few $1,000s to the Treasury because I don't pay enough taxes. Then he structures things where he pays zero tax himself, takes the capital gains offshore, and was the biggest recipient of the banker bailout, $300+ billion the first year, and then he got 180 something billion the next year in the bailout. It comes out to $400+ billion, almost 500 billion that Warren Buffett got. Look it up. Type in Warren Buffett, biggest recipient of banker bailout. Click Google Web, and you'll get it if they haven't censored that. Oh, but he hadn't paid enough taxes. He wants the middle class making $100,000 a year to pay more taxes because he swindles it up into his coffers. And that's how the Koch brothers work. In fact, let's just, since I mentioned it, let's play the Tucker Carlson piece to understand crony capitalist versus real capitalist. And then you've got the Koch brothers saying they're against crony capitalists, but they want open borders and illegal aliens in here. They want open borders, and then we subsidize them all with welfare and food stamps, and then they work in their paper mills and their meat packing plants and their facilities. The video's up on newswars.com. Tucker calls out Koch brothers for working with the ADL to censor conservative online. They're the ones. It's the Democrats in bed with the Koch brothers. Here it is.
Charles and David Koch are two of the richest men in the world. Each one of them is worth tens of billions of dollars. Some of their money is inherited. Much of it they made themselves. But to their credit, the Kochs have never been content merely to get richer. They are engaged intellectuals. They have a sincere desire to change the world. So for years, the brothers have been the single most important funders of Republican politics in Washington and the country. The Koch network of donors spends hundreds of millions of dollars every election cycle. Virtually every major conservative nonprofit in Washington takes Koch money, often a lot of it. Koch organizations train political organizers and candidates. Many Republican lawmakers owe their careers to the Kochs and are happy to say so. For people whose main business is making fertilizer and paper towels, the Kochs have been remarkably effective in American politics. And not surprisingly, the left hates them for it. Both the Koch brothers and their families, who, by the way, are very nice people, have been grotesquely and repeatedly maligned by the media. This, in turn, has convinced many conservatives that the Kochs must be on their side. Anyone who's been slandered by the New York Times has got to be doing something right. That's the idea. It's not a bad standard, but in this case, in the case of the Kochs, conservatives might want to pause and rethink the relationship. As it turns out, the Kochs don't have much in common with conservatives. They are, in fact, totally opposed to most conservative policy goals. The Kochs are libertarian ideologues. They're passionate and inflexible about what they believe. America first? The Kochs find the very notion of that absurd, if not fascist. An economic policy that seeks to strengthen families? The Kochs denounce that as, quote, crony capitalism or picking winners and losers. They think it's immoral, and they'll tell you so. Controlling our borders? The Kochs consider that racist. A few years ago, in fact, Bernie Sanders noted that the Koch brothers are far to the left of him on immigration. Open borders? Quote, that's a Koch brothers proposal, Bernie Sanders said. And he was right. But in fact, it's more than a proposal. It's in effect what we have now in this country, open borders. And that's thanks in part to the Kochs. The overwhelming majority of Republicans want a secure border and less immigration. That's why they voted for Donald Trump. 2.5 years later, though, the border is more porous than ever. A tide of humanity is flooding in illegally. Republicans in Congress have done almost nothing to help with the situation. Why? Well, you can thank the Kochs for that. In 2018, Koch-backed organizations, the Freedom Network and Americans for Prosperity, pressured Republicans in Congress to use their limited post-election lame duck session to pass an amnesty for the so-called Dreamers. Going into this election, the 2020 race, amnesty remains the Kochs' top legislative priority. So if you're wondering why the Republican Party often seems completely out of sync with its own voters, this is why. And it's not just on immigration. The Koch network has also successfully pushed Republicans to join the left in going soft on crime. The Kochs aggressively backed the First Step Act, which is currently allowing drug traffickers to leave prison early. They support the Sentencing Reform and Corrections Act that would cut required penalties for heroin and cocaine traffickers in half. Now, keep in mind, they're doing all of this in the middle of the deadliest drug epidemic in American history. The Kochs don't even bother to argue that these so-called reforms would help any law-abiding American in any way.
All right, we're going to go to break, and we're going to come back with the rest of this. Then Robert Barnes is in studio with the fall of the House of Google. It could happen, at least the fall of the censors that have hijacked it and are running it. It's all coming up next segment. But we're going to finish up where he gets into the Kochs working to censor conservative speech with the ADL. That's right. So next time a leftist comes up and says, oh, you're funded by the Koch brothers, remember, these are ignorant moron fools, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, the Koch brothers know, just like the Walmart dynasty, Walmart put out memos, a decade ago, telling their employees, oh, we pay you not enough to live on, so you qualify for food stamps and welfare, so then you can live nice. Taxpayers subsidize Walmart. Taxpayers subsidize the Koch brothers. I'm sick of it. You're not libertarians. What you are is the crony capitalists you claim you're fighting. Just like Warren, biggest recipient of the banker bailout, Buffett. We'll be right back, though, with Tucker getting into the Koch brothers censoring conservatives, their main enemy. We're going to be going deep into the censorship wars. Next hour with constitutional lawyer Robert Barnes, chief counsel on InfoWars. You notice is here a good week out of the month. He'll be here for the next week. We're very honored to have him. A lot of exciting things coming up, a lot of big developments that you'll hear a little bit about this week and next week, but that are going to be launched coming up in about a week and a half or so. But this is going to be a major offensive against the globalists, and obviously all of you aren't just essential. You are critical. You are beyond critical. You are everything that is defeating the globalists, so that's all coming up. But I wanted to finish up with Tucker Carlson before he left to Tokyo, where he's been broadcasting from, pointing out that it's the Koch brothers that want open borders. It's the Koch brothers that finance the Clintons, along with Tyson. It's the Koch brothers that are financing the fake libertarian Republican think tanks that say, oh, companies can do whatever they want, including censor or control, or say the Republican Party's official policy is Nazism on the front page of Google. And now Drudge has moved the Project Veritas links to the top. So let's click on the fourth link there at drudgereport.com. Linked in red, corporate media ignores. And when you scroll down in that Infowars.com article, blacklisted MSM ignores Project Veritas bombshell, you see update number 1. Fox News also blacklist Project Veritas Google bombshell story. Well, you'd think almost 2 days into this earth-shaking event, the head of Google censorship admitting that they're not going to let Trump win and how they censor people. They call it fairness. Update number 2 is the actual censored video that Congress has had to upload because Google is banning it. We have our own servers, as Drudge advised 4 years ago here in studio. And there it is, our own servers. See the video Google censored on their plans to steal 2020 election, then scroll down. You can then see watershed event. More Google whistleblowers to go public. They've pulled that off every place we've seen it posted. I've gotten a bunch of calls from major channels saying this is newsworthy, and they're pulling it down, even excerpts of it. They are scared. So again, everyone go to drudgereport.com, the biggest news site in the world, the second largest site in the world, and get those 4 links and share them. And take screenshots of the front of Drudge and share it. And then let Facebook and Twitter censor you. We're getting reports of that. Send us screenshots to showtips@infowars.com. That'll be big news. For the congressional hearings already announced on these companies working in coordination, when monopolies work in coordination, it's called a cartel. That's the popular parlance. It's known really in legal as a combine. So we have these combines working in tandem right now, in conjunction. It's called organized crime. And we've got the walls closing in. When we say the walls close in, it's not like made-up Democrat talking points against Trump. When I start saying the walls are closing in and the blood's in the water, I told you yesterday before any of this was blood in the water. Congressional hearings, House, Senate hearings, uploading it, FBI investigating. It's all happening because she said, Congress will try to stop us. They are not going to stop anything. Like a supervillain bragging in a movie. I'm going to flood the city and kill everybody and you won't stop me, Batman. I mean, this is what criminals do. It's why you see it in comic books. It's a reflection of reality. And now the archetypes are here. They already lost $136 billion for their censorship this month. They don't care. They're zealots. They wouldn't work with the Pentagon on AI. They work with China. So the die's cast, and Congress is slow to wake up. Says 70 billion. There was 136 billion just 2 weeks ago. So it's grown since then. That's an older article. Yeah, that's April, guys. Click late May. No, it was June. It was the first week of June. 136 billion lost in one day. That's your headline. I'll find it during the break. You're doing a great job. Click news. You'll find it. So let's finish up with Tucker Carlson, and then we're going to tell you what's coming up. But this is history. You may not be on Google. You may not have a cell phone. God bless you. There it is. Google, Facebook, Amazon falls 136 billion over government probe. So it was all three of them together, but most of it was Google. So good job finding that, guys. That's Front Page Magazine. Okay, let's go ahead now and go to the rest of Tucker Carlson, pointing out most of the so-called conservatives have been bought and paid for. Trump's really a populist. That's why they're pissed. Here it is.
The Kochs don't even bother to argue that these so-called reforms would help any law-abiding American in any way. They just believe it's the right thing, the libertarian thing to do. So they're pushing for it. On economics, meanwhile, you won't be surprised to learn that the Kochs hold views that bear no resemblance at all to what most Republican voters believe. The Kochs have pushed for cuts to Social Security and Medicare, for example. A vast majority of Americans are opposed to that. Most Republicans are opposed to that. Like almost everyone else, by the way, Republicans want lower drug prices. Drugs are expensive and getting more so. And yet the Kochs are working to kill a bill introduced by Senators Josh Hawley and Rick Scott that will prevent drug companies from charging Americans more than they charge the people of Canada or France. That seems like a fair idea to most people. The Kochs are preventing it from happening. Then the Kochs helped draft the 2017 tax cut. That turned out to be a far better deal for corporate America than it was for the American middle class. A majority of Republicans support capping interest rates on credit cards and payday loans. The Kochs think that idea is ridiculous. In fact, some years ago when David Koch ran for vice president as a libertarian, abolishing all usury laws was part of his platform. Now, there's nothing surprising about any of this or illegitimate. It's what many rich liberals believe. It's just not what most Republicans believe. And that's a problem, given that the Kochs are the single most powerful figures in the Republican Party. The Kochs don't seem interested in hearing you complain about that or anything else, actually. Remarkably, they have now joined the left-wing campaign against free speech in America. Next month, the Charles Koch Institute will hold a summit with the Anti-Defamation League and executives from major tech companies, including Pinterest, Airbnb, Patreon, Mozilla. The stated purpose of the meeting is to formulate, quote, best practices on the fight against hate and extremism online, end quote. But you know exactly what that really means. It means censorship of your views. For the left, fighting extremism always entails crushing normal conservatives. That's why Pinterest has censored live action. It's why Patreon banned Milo Yiannopoulos. It's why Mozilla drove out Brendan Eich for the crime of donating to the wrong political campaign. Big tech has become a far greater threat to your freedom than the federal government. The Kochs don't care about that. Nothing Google does violates libertarian orthodoxy. More to the point, the Kochs don't care about Republican voters or what happens to them. Okay, that's fine. No law requiring them to care. But then why are they running the Republican Party? That's a question Republicans should start asking themselves.
Well, Tucker Carlson is amazing, and he's a national treasure, and he's going through a lot behind the scenes. Antifa is set to attack his house on July 4th. Literally, they've got an army trying to shut down Trump's Celebration of America event, and they intend to go over to his house and attack it. And I'm going to leave it at that. That story's up on newswars.com. We're going to go to break, come back with Robert Barnes for the next hour with the man that wrote the U.S. Biological Weapons Treaty and who's an expert on war crimes. Dr. Francis Boyle will join us to break down how smart it was that Trump did not strike Iran. And then syndicated radio and TV host will be joining us after that to talk about some of the latest setups in the left financing extremist groups to demonize the mainline right wing. That's Lee Stranahan coming up. Robert Barnes on the other side. Please don't forget that this is war. We're delivering. I told you this Veritas thing would have congressional hearings and would devastate them, and I can feel it spiritually, okay, at a gut level. I know when something's a winner. If you get involved, if you share the links, if you call Talk Radio, if you keep this Project Veritas video alive that's linked at Infowars.com, if you get the link at the middle of DrudgeReport.com, linked in red, media is ignoring this. We show what they're ignoring. If you humanly promote that, corporate media ignores that link right there, they're done. This is them admitting their crime still in the election. And if you financially support us and get great products you already need, whatever the highest rated water filter is, I go out and buy it in bulk, sell it at the lowest price. Alexa Pure and, of course, Pro Pure. They're both excellent, both highest rated. You've seen third-party groups study it. They go, God, he's selling the best of hundreds. Why is Jones doing that? Because I believe in karma, folks. Reap what you sow. I don't sell you something unless it's the best. Can you find something more expensive? Yeah, but it won't even be as good. Air filtration, water filtration, store-wide free shipping, 50% off all the supplements, double Patriot points. Get your fish oil. Get your ultimate turmeric bodies, 95% humanoid. Get your X2. Learn about the iodine conspiracy for your wife, your children, yourself, or you're insane. Make a straight donation. There's a big link in the middle of InfoWarsStore.com. Whatever you do, take action now, because these globalists think they can usurp your future. But if you stand, they'll lose. We're now entering the 10th round of this heavyweight boxing match. We've got 3 rounds left, and we're winning.
It's never been easy to figure out the essentials of a new supplement routine. That's why we created the 8-Pack Power Stack, your go-to option for the building blocks of a successful approach to supplementation. This one-stop shop for those looking to simplify or adjust their routine is perfect for new and old info warriors alike. With the 8-Pack Power Stack, there's no trial and error, messy bottles laying across the counter, or 20-minute morning habits. Just take the Wake Up and Work or Rest and Recover packs each day for quick, easy-to-use, and conveniently accessible formulas to help you reach your peak without the deep supplement knowledge, stacks of bottles, and complicated routine. Featuring 8 different formulas for a total take on your health and wellness. You can find what you like and get even more powerful versions in the store. Head to InfoWarsStore.com and check out 8-Pack Power Stack today and jumpstart your supplement routine.
It's time to show them what a real alpha male looks like with one of our most powerful products ever made, Alpha Power, at 50% off. As you age, your body can lose testosterone over time. With the incredible ingredients in this formula, we can help you beat the test of time and assist in restoring that lost energy and mood that comes with time and age. Alpha Power's incredible ingredients can help you boost your sports performance or enhance your day-to-day life with ease while encouraging hormonal balance. Perfect by itself or with super male vitality in the true Alpha Male Pack. Alpha Power can help boost performance, help maintain normal testosterone levels, support healthy cholesterol, and more. Let Alpha Power help bring you to the peak of your optimal health. Don't fall short on energy in the fight against tyranny. Show the world what a true alpha male looks like today with Alpha Power at 50% off, only at the InfoWars store.